My name is Lena Hartwell, and I was 21 the night I died. At least, that's what the newspapers said. Car crash kills only daughter of billionaire hotelier Richard Hartwell. There was even a funeral. White roses, black umbrellas, my picture in a silver frame. My aunt, Sylvia, weeping on my mother's shoulder. My father staring blankly, pretending to be heartbroken. But I wasn't dead. I remember every second of that night in upstate New York near the family's lake house. The rain was heavy, turning the road into a mirror of headlights. I was driving back from Boston, where I'd spent the weekend with my college roommate, Sarah. My father had called earlier, furious I'd skipped a charity dinner. "You're a Hartwell, Lena. Act like one," he'd barked before hanging up. When my car spun off the road, it wasn't an accident. The brakes had been tampered with. I found out later. But that night, as the world flipped upside down and cold water swallowed me, I thought it was over. Only it wasn't. A fisherman found me washed up a mile down the riverbank, barely breathing. I woke up 2 days later in a small hospital in Syracuse, wrapped in gauze and silence. No one knew who I was. My face was bruised beyond recognition. When I saw the news report of my own death on the hospital TV, I made a decision. I let the world believe I was gone. That was 3 years ago. Now, I live in Chicago under a new name, Maya Collins. I've built a life that isn't mine, working quietly, learning everything about the family who buried me alive. The Hartwells own one of the biggest hotel chains in the country, Hartwell & Co., but behind their polished smiles is rot, greed, lies, and blood. My blood. Before I continue my story, kindly hit the subscribe button and comment where you are watching from. You see, revenge isn't about rage, it's about patience. It's about letting your enemies believe they've won while you sharpen your knife in silence. I've watched from afar. My Aunt Sylvia now sits on the board of Hartwell & Co., a position that was supposed to be mine when I graduated. My father remarried just months after my death. My mother? She drinks herself to sleep in our Manhattan penthouse, her guilt seeping through every photo she's kept of me. They think I'm just a memory, a ghost. But ghosts remember. And now, I'm coming home. My plan starts with a job interview at Hartwell Chicago, the company's new flagship hotel. They won't recognize me. My hair's darker now, my voice colder, and the girl they buried doesn't exist anymore. When I step through those glass doors tomorrow, I'll be the shadow in their light, the proof that the dead can still walk. Because Lena Hartwell may have died by the lake that night. But Maya Collins was born in the water. Walking into Hartwell, Chicago felt like walking into a memory I'd buried alive. The scent of polished oak, the echo of heels against marble floors, the faint notes of vanilla air freshener, every detail reminded me of the world I once belonged to. Only now, I wasn't Lena Hartwell, the pampered heiress. I was Maya Collins, the quiet, ambitious woman applying for a management role in guest relations. The receptionist smiled at me, unaware of the storm behind my calm expression. "Good morning! You're here for the 10 a.m. interview with Mr. Whitaker?" "Yes," I replied. Steady voice, steady hands. Inside, my heart pounded like a trapped bird. Mr. Whitaker was a kind man in his 50s, loyal to the company since before I was born. As he flipped through my resume, he nodded approvingly. "Impressive background, Miss Collins. You've worked with the Rivera Group in Chicago?" I nodded. That part was true. I'd built a solid career under my new identity, competent, trustworthy, invisible. He leaned back. "We value loyalty and discretion here. The Hartwell family runs a tight ship." That name, it still cut through me like glass. As if on cue, a familiar voice echoed from the hallway, sharp, commanding, unmistakable. "Whitaker, I need those reports by noon." My breath froze. Aunt Sylvia. Her heels clicked closer, her tone brisk. "Who's this?" Mr. Whitaker stood. "Miss Collins, candidate for guest relations." She turned to me, her perfume flooding the air, Chanel No. 5, the same scent she wore the night of my supposed funeral. Her gaze flicked over my face, lingering for half a second. My throat tightened. Would she recognize me? But she didn't. "Welcome to Hartwell, Miss Collins," she said curtly. "We expect excellence. Mediocrity doesn't last long here." I smiled faintly. I never settle for mediocrity. Her eyes softened with approval. "Good. We need more people like you." And just like that, I was in. That evening, as I stood in my small apartment overlooking downtown Chicago, I stared at the city lights and let the reality sink in. I had just walked into the empire that destroyed me. On my desk was a photo I'd found online, my father, Aunt Sylvia, and a younger executive named Daniel Pierce, smiling at a press event. Daniel was new to me. I did my research. He was ambitious, sharp, and rumored to be Sylvia's protege. He'd be my entry point. But revenge isn't just about striking back, it's about knowing when to strike. So I started slow watching, listening, blending in. Every morning, I greeted Sylvia like a loyal employee. Every night, I studied company files, tracing signatures, timelines, and secret transfers that proved what I already knew. My death wasn't a tragedy, it was a business decision. Still, I couldn't forget that half second when Sylvia looked at me, like she almost remembered something. That night, as I shut my laptop, my phone buzzed. A private message. No name, just 3 words. I know who you are. My blood ran cold. I stared at the message for a long time. The glow of my phone, the only light in the room. I know who you are. 3 words that could burn everything I'd built. I typed back, "Who is this?" No response. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound outside my apartment, the hum of traffic, the rattle of the radiator felt like footsteps coming for me. By morning, I convinced myself it was spam, or maybe someone from my past in Boston who'd stumbled on my new name. Still, I couldn't shake the unease. At Hartwell, Chicago, I threw myself into work. I greeted guests, memorized schedules, and smiled through the chaos of grand opening week. But my mind stayed on that message. That afternoon, Daniel Pierce stopped by my desk. Maya, right? He was taller than I expected, with sharp blue eyes and a charm that felt a little too practiced. "We're hosting an investor dinner tonight. Sylvia suggested you help coordinate it." I nodded. "Of course." He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Don't take Sylvia too seriously. She expects everyone to worship her. But you..." He paused, smiling slightly. "You don't seem easily intimidated." "I'm not," I said, holding his gaze. He grinned. "Good. See you tonight?" That evening, the ballroom gleamed under crystal chandeliers. I watched Sylvia float through the crowd in her emerald gown, shaking hands and flashing her politician's smile. My father was there too. Richard Hartwell, silver-haired, still imposing. I hadn't seen him in 3 years, but the sight of him made my throat tighten. He looked older. Colder, but alive while I had been erased. I stayed in the background, serving champagne, listening. That's when I heard it. Sylvia's voice, low but distinct. "Richard, the insurance money was worth it. You know it." I froze. Insurance money? My death had paid them. I almost stepped forward, but then Daniel's hand touched my arm. "You okay?" I forced a smile. "Just tired." Later, when the event ended, I found a small envelope tucked inside my purse. No name. Inside, a photo grainy but unmistakable. Me, standing by the lake the night I died. On the back, in neat handwriting, "Stop digging, Lena, or you'll end up dead for real this time." I locked myself in the restroom, my heart hammering so loudly it drowned out thought. Someone knew. Someone had been watching me all along. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back. Dark hair, calm eyes, but beneath that, fear and rage coiled tight. I whispered to my reflection, if they want to finish what they started, they'll have to try harder. Because for the first time since I'd crawled out of that river, I realized something revenge wasn't just about making them pay. It was about making them afraid. That night, I called an old friend from my past, someone who still believed Lena Hartwell was alive. When she answered, her voice trembled. "Lena, is it really you?" I took a deep breath. "Yes, and I need your help." Her name was Sarah Keene, my college roommate, the only person who'd ever truly known me. When I disappeared, she never believed the news reports. She said once, "If you were really gone, I'd feel it." Now, 3 years later, her voice shook when I met her in a quiet cafe near Millennium Park, Chicago. She stared at me for a long time before whispering, "God, Lena, you look so different." I smiled faintly. Different is what kept me alive. She reached across the table, eyes brimming. "What happened to you?" So I told her everything: the accident, the fisherman, the fake name, the company, Sylvia, the warning note. By the time I finished, her hands were trembling. "You can't do this," she said. "You can't take them on alone. These people are powerful." "I know," I said softly. "That's why I need you." She hesitated, then nodded. "Whatever you need, I'm in." For weeks, Sarah became my quiet shadow. She hacked into company archives using an old friend's credentials, uncovering files that confirmed my worst fear. A massive life insurance payout issued 2 weeks after my death. My father and Sylvia had signed off as co-beneficiaries. The amount? $10 million. That night, I sat in my apartment staring at the documents, the rage inside me cold and clean. I'd always wondered how they could bury me so easily. Now I knew money makes monsters sleep peacefully. I began my next move. Using Daniel's trust, I fed him information about financial irregularities I'd accidentally discovered. He started doubting Sylvia, questioning board reports. I could see cracks forming. And Sylvia, sharp as ever, noticed. One evening, she called me into her office. Her tone was sugar-coated venom. "Miss Collins," she began, circling me like a predator. "You've done impressive work, but tell me, why does it feel like you're always listening?" I held her gaze. "Because that's how I learn." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Good answer. But be careful, Maya. Curiosity can be dangerous in this business." That night, as I drove home, I noticed headlights behind me, same car, same distance for miles. My pulse spiked. I pulled into a gas station. The car sped past. I told Sarah the next morning. She frowned. "You're being watched. You need to stop before—" Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, face going pale. "Lena, someone just transferred $50,000 into my account. From a Hartwell subsidiary?" I froze. "What? I swear I didn't." Before she could finish, I grabbed her wrist. "Sarah, what did you tell them?" Tears welled in her eyes. "They said they'd ruin my career. I thought they just wanted to know if you were alive. I didn't know they'd—" I stood, numb. The betrayal hit harder than any car crash. As I walked out of the cafe, the autumn wind stung my face. I didn't look back. In that moment, I understood something brutal. I couldn't trust anyone, not even the people who once loved me. And if I wanted revenge, I'd have to finish this alone. But before I reached home, a message arrived. A video file, no words, just the title, "The Night You Really Died." I pressed play, and what I saw made my blood run cold. The video began with the sound of rain, then headlights. My car, my old blue BMW, appeared on the screen, sliding along the winding road near the Hartwell Lake House. The footage was grainy, shot from a dash cam. A second car followed close behind. My chest tightened as I watched my own car spin, crash, then disappear into darkness. But that wasn't what made my blood run cold. It was what came next. 2 figures stepped out of the following car, Sylvia and my father. They stood by the edge of the road, staring into the lake. My father's voice was clear despite the rain. "She's gone." Sylvia's reply was colder. "Then we can finally move forward." And then he nodded. Calm, silent, turned away. He didn't call for help. He didn't even look back. I closed my laptop, my hands trembling. The truth was worse than I'd imagined. It wasn't a business deal gone wrong. It was a choice. My own father had chosen power over blood. I couldn't breathe. For a long time, I just sat there in the dark, listening to the storm outside my window, the same kind of storm that took my old life away. But I wasn't that girl anymore. 2 days later, Hartwell & Co. was hosting a gala at their Chicago hotel, a fundraiser in my father's name. Every investor, every reporter, every board member would be there, including Sylvia. It was the perfect stage. I arrived in a black gown that shimmered under the chandeliers, hair pinned up, confidence steady. No one looked twice at me. They saw Maya Collins, the efficient staff manager, not the girl they killed. At the right moment, I slipped into the control room, replacing the planned presentation with the video I'd received. My hands didn't shake this time. When the lights dimmed and the screen came alive, silence fell. At first, it looked like another promotional clip. Then came the rain. The headlights, the crash, the truth. Gasps filled the ballroom as Sylvia's face appeared, her voice echoing through the speakers. "Then we can finally move forward." My father froze mid-sentence at the podium. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted, panic erupted. I watched from the balcony above, unseen. Security rushed in. Sylvia's composure shattered as police officers entered the room. My father's face went pale. Years of lies unraveled in front of the world they'd built on my grave. And I just stood there, silent, steady, alive. Later that night, I walked out into the cold Chicago air. Sirens wailed behind me. My phone buzzed with breaking news alerts. Hartwell family scandal exposed. I stood by the river, the same kind of water that once swallowed me whole, and whispered to the wind, "My name is Lena Hartwell, and this time, I buried you." The city lights shimmered on the water like candles on a grave. Justice doesn't always roar, it sometimes whispers. And mine whispered with every breath they'll take behind prison walls, every headline that stains their name. I didn't just survive. I reclaimed my story,